As for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins, in which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world, and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. All of us also lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our flesh, following its desires and thoughts. Like the rest, we were by nature deserving of wrath. But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved. And God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in heavenly realms in Christ Jesus, in order that in the coming ages he might show the incomparable riches of his grace, expressed in his kindness to us in Christ Jesus. For it is by grace you have been saved, through faith. That is not from yourselves. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Therefore, remember that formerly you who are Gentiles by birth and called uncircumcised by those who call themselves the circumcision, remember that at the time you were separate from Christ, excluded from citizenship in Israel, and foreigners to the covenants of promise, without hope and without God in the world. But now in Christ Jesus, you who once were far away have been brought near by the blood of Christ. Grace, it doesn't make sense. This morning I want to bring a message into your homes and also into your hearts about grace. It doesn't make sense. Join with me on this journey as we explore this together. Since the start of lockdown back in March, April last year, we as a family have been pretty good at going for our daily walks. And we go for a walk probably about 45 minutes long, which for us is about just under 2 miles. And we have been regularly going to Wareham Forest. We've done it about 100 times since the beginning of lockdown, the first lockdown. And we've explored different paths. We park up at different places and go up to the woods, to the heathland. And last week, at the beginning of last week, we got in the car and we went to Wareham Forest locally, and we parked in the main car park. And off the main car park, there's one main route with lots of different routes off it. And we took one of the routes off the main route, which we've done many times before. And so we were walking up there and enjoying talking to one another and nature and stuff like that, as you do. And Freddie said, could we go this route? And this route was right in the middle of the woods. We were heading into the middle of the woods. We were going in between the trees. We would have to duck and dive in between the branches and go round lots of trees. And we've never been this route before, but I said, okay, we can go through this route if you want to do it, Freddie. So we went through this route through the trees. And we were walking through the trees, going in and out of the trees. And Becky said to me, do you know where this ends up as? Where it ends up? And I said confident to her that I think it ends up at this path, which we've been before, and then we can go through the gate, up the heathland, round the woods, and then down the path to the car park. And she said, okay. And, you know, we started off our walk about 3:30 in the afternoon. And so we were going through the woods and we came out and we ended up at the path I thought we would end up as. We were at that path. So we went through the gate, through the heathland, up up, down by the woods, and we just kept walking. And we carried on walking and walking. And Becky said, you know how we'll get into the car, don't you? I said once again, confidently, yeah, it's this way. This is the way to the car. And for me, I can see like a bird's eye view of Wareham Forest in my mind. I've got like a Google Maps going on, church. You know, I can think that if I'm going to go this way, I need to go that way to get back. And if I turn left at the start, I've got to turn right. And I've just got this like map going on in my mind. Many of us in church probably say we've got a similar kind of mind. We've got this map and we know we're going to get back. So we carried on walking and walking, and it started to get a bit darker and a bit more darker and darker. And Becky said, you know where you're going? I said, I'll take us back to the car. But this time I said, I don't know when we're going to get there. I know we'll get back to the car, but I don't know what time we're going to get there. And this time, like I said, it was getting darker and Joel was getting a bit tired. So we were encouraging him to go a bit faster. And we're sort of walking towards the paths and it getting darker. And we just realized is actually, we don't know where we are. We don't know where we are. So I said to Becky, we've got to keep on the main paths. Because if it gets dark and we're in the middle of the woods, we're not going to be able to see anything. So we just carried on walking through the main paths, taking different paths. And we were going across one path, walking, and I could hear the cars. So I thought we were getting closer to the car park because I could hear the cars going past. And also I thought I recognized where we were. And as we were walking, a lady with a dog was coming towards us. And I reluctantly decided to ask her for help. I say reluctantly because in my mind, we were so close to the car park. In my mind, I know I could take us back to the car park. I can do it. And the lady came and I said, oh, by the way, we're heading towards the main car park. It's at the end of this path, isn't it? And she said, no. It's actually, you got to go back and take one of the other paths, and you've got to follow that path up and then turn left and then go through this boggy patch and then go through the woods, take a right, down through some more woods and another path, and keep going for that for a bit and then take another path, and then you'll get to the car park. As she was speaking to me, taking all this information and steps into my mind, it was like going in and back out again. And I realized once she's gone, I'm not going to be able to get back to the car park. And so I said to her, I know it sounds a bit weird, but could we follow you to the car park? Because if we don't follow you, I don't know how long it's going to take us to get back. And she kindly said, yeah, that's fine. I said we would keep a safe distance, of course. So we kept a safe distance, and she led us through the right path, up a boggy patch, through the woods, the left or right, down through some more paths and woods. And she led us straight back to the car. And at this time, it was about 5:30, 5:45, and it was pitch black. And we had walked over 5 miles. Me and Becky looked at each other and thought and talked that we realized that where we were when we spoke to that lady, it was so far away from where our car was. We were so far away from where we thought we were. See, I thought it was just a bit further down the path, or it was just another path off. But actually, we were so far away from our car. We were miles away. We were a long distance away. We were so far away. I wonder, have you ever felt far away? Maybe you felt far away from someone or something. Or it's a time you are waiting for and it's felt far away. Have you ever felt far away? See, I felt far away again just 2 weeks ago. I've got 2 nephews, Joshua and James, who live in Preston. And 2 weeks ago, they were blessed with snow. You know, my boys wanted the snow to come here. Freddie was saying, do you think it's going to snow? Do you think it's going to snow? Probably not, Freddie. Hardly ever snows down here. But up in Preston, it snowed about 2 weeks ago. And Joshua and James were playing out in the snow. And Joshua, who's 3 years old, he slipped on the snow and apparently screamed out in agony. And then Rachel obviously rushed him to hospital to find out that he's broken a few bones in his legs and the part of the bit that goes to your hip. And therefore he had to stay in hospital for nearly 2 weeks. He had to have an operation. And we, at that point, we felt so far away from them. And there was a great distance away from us. We were a 6-hour drive away, hundreds of miles away. And we felt it at that point because we wanted to be there with them. We wanted to visit him if we could in hospital. We wanted to support them and care for them and help them. But we could only pray for them and send them cards and talk to them over the phone. But we felt so far away. See, in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 13, it says this, "But now in Christ Jesus, you who once were far away have been brought near by the blood of Christ." You were once far away, but now have been brought near by the blood of Christ. See, church, Paul is reminding the church and will remind us, we were once far away from God. We were so far away from God. We were wandering this life aimlessly. Like we were in the middle of a forest and lost. We were taking paths that we thought would lead to a better and a greater and a richer life. We were taking paths which we hoped would give us greater peace, would give us fulfillment, would give us that relationship that would make our life everything. We were taking these paths and they didn't lead to true life. We were on the wrong path. We felt so far away and we were so far away. And Paul is saying you were so far away from God. You were far, far away from God. And he wants to remind the people, do you remember what God has done in your life? Do you remember the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the salvation message? You were far away from God and God drew near to you. You were walking this life on the wrong path. Jesus says in the Bible, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He is the path to follow. And I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves that what would be my life if God didn't intervene? What would be my life now if I didn't know God in my life? And it's like this encouragement. See, we have come so far. Well, I say we've come so far. God has come near to us. We were far away, but God drew near to us. Jesus intervened in our lives. Jesus disrupted our lives with some good stuff, good news. See, this passage, Ephesians chapter 2, it really hangs on a few words. And actually our lives hang on these few words. And the few words is this: by grace, you have been saved. By grace, you have been saved. Nothing else. You were far away and God drew near by grace. Nothing else. What? Nothing else? Grace alone? I thought it would be my works. It's what I could do for God. It's what I can offer God. It's what I can say to God. It's what I can do in my life. I thought it would be my family. You know, for me, I was brought up in a Christian household. I went to Sunday school, went to youth groups. All my family are Christians. Surely that's going to count for something. It's my heritage. What about, I'm a good person. I do what is right. I'm willing to help anyone. I always try my best. I am a good person. Surely God, that has got to count for something when it comes to this, is that I'm a good person. I'm not like those other, those evil people. I'm good. Or what about this one, God? I attend a religious gathering on a weekly basis. I make the effort. I be there on a weekly basis. Are we kidding ourselves? Are we kidding ourselves that we ever earned the grace of God, the love of God? See, we did nothing and we said we've done nothing, and there's nothing we can say to God that will earn his love, his grace for us. Nothing. There's nothing we can do and there's nothing we can say to earn the grace of God. It is grace and it is freely given to us. Freely. As we learned in Ephesians last week, he's lavished his grace upon us. He's pouring out his grace upon us. And it's nothing because of what I've done, and it's nothing because of what you've done in your life. It is grace. It doesn't make sense. See, I was brought up that if I was a good boy, I would get chocolate. I was brought up that if I did well in my work, I would get a bonus. Or at least I would get a well done from my boss. See, I was brought up that if I did good at school, the whole class would clap me. I would get that certificate at the end of the week. This is how I was brought up. I was brought up, if I was kind and generous, someone would say thank you. See, I was brought up that if I wanted something, I had to give something. I was brought up that to receive something, I've got to give something away. I was brought up, if I want to be loved, I need to love. See, I was brought up that you've got to initiate something. You've got to have something to give to get something back. It's like this reward-based system. Do something, you get something. See, this is how the world works, church. See, the world we live in works like this. That if you want something, or if you get something, it's because you've done something right. But the grace of God is the complete opposite to this. We were far away from God, and God drew near because of his great grace, his love for his people, his love for you. He drew near to you, and he took you from that place where you were lost, so you will be found in him. This is the message of grace. That grace is, there is nothing you have done, and that there is nothing you need to do to have the reward of grace, but it is freely given to you because he loves you. Because he loves you. So when I was far away, the grace came down and poured upon me. He lavished me with his grace. And now I become a vessel of his grace. That's it, church, right? I've got it. The grace God has given me, now I become the vessel of God's grace. See, humanity, we have this syndrome. We have this problem, is that when someone hurts us, we take a step back. We distance ourselves from them. We go far away. See, when someone hurts us, whether it's your husband, your wife, whether it's a family member, a work colleague, your neighbor, they hurt us. So we take a step back and we build a fence. We build a wall, a barrier between us and them. And we say, you are not welcomed in my life. And we place it there. But I remember that when I was far away from God, God's grace came to me because I'm saved by grace, I know nothing I've ever done, and He rescued me. And now God's grace is upon me and I will become a vessel of grace. So where I want to put a barrier up, where I want to put a wall up because that person has hurt me, there should be a bulldozer of grace coming our way that tears down those barriers and says, you might have hurt me, but I'm going to love you. I'm going to show you grace. You might have said some words, but I'm going to bless you. I'm going to honor you. I'm going to respect you. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to love you and care for you, even though you hurt me. Even though what we want to do is step far away. Even though I want to put up these barriers to protect myself. No. Because I receive grace, I will become a vessel of grace and I will show grace to the people around me. I will love you and respect you and honor you because that's what grace has done for me. And I want to be a vessel of God's grace in my life. That's it, church. That is it. See, the message of grace doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I get something without doing anything. I don't need to impress God. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do the rules and the religion. I don't need to do this. I've always grown up that I've got to do this to get that. I've always been thought it was that way round. But the message of grace, that we were far away, but the grace of God comes to us. And now I'm a vessel of God's grace. So if someone hurts me, I'm going to show them grace, and it's not going to make sense to them. But I'm going to love them and respect them and care for them because I'm a vessel of God's grace. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to make sense to the world. And that's why it's so powerful.